Thank you for coming today, everyone. Today's in-depth training class, we're going to be talking about Production Terminal. Production Terminal is another feature, another option that the system has. It's another program, essentially, that is run off of Internet Explorer. And essentially what Production Terminal is, it's a way for your production people to be able to log into the system and update job information, update the status, update the station, update part costs, and clock onto and off of orders without actually being able to log in to control. So there's a lot less features that can be done. And that's the entire purpose. It's meant purely for production to update existing orders without being able to go through and see all the orders in the system without having to worry about the prices, the cost. It's a simplified way for people to just go through and deal with only production orders. So what needs to be done first is you need to be able to allow people to log in to Production Terminal. And that is just done within Control. I'm going to go to Setup, Employee Setup. Select the employee that I want to be able to log in. And then click on the Edit User button down at the bottom. Once I click on that, I have the option there that says can log into Production Terminal. And I can also set a security right, whether they're going to be administrator or just a standard Production Terminal user. So with that box checked, this person can now log into Production Terminal. And what happens is now I'm going to go ahead and minimize control. And you should have a link on your screen for Production Terminal once it's set up. So you just double click on that and that will open you up your Production Terminal screen. So I'm going to go ahead and log in. The login information for Production Terminal is the same exact information that you would use to log into Control. So once we log in, we have the main screen. Basically what you'll see here is all the options that you have within Production Terminal are right here. So there's not a whole lot of options that you can do with the Production Terminal, but we will go through each of them. The very first option, starting at the top, is the time clock. If you use Sirius to kind of clock in and clock out of the system, you can use the time clock option up here to clock into the system and then go ahead and clock on to specific jobs. So I'm going to go ahead and clock in for that day. So I'm just going to say I'm going to clock in, pick the station that I'm going to clock in under. So work on design and enter in my password. So now I am currently clocked in to the system, so it's tracking how long I've been clocked in. It works as a standard time clock. What I have now is I have a listing of all the orders within the system. So these are all the jobs that are currently in WIP. What I can do is there's an option up here for filter. So maybe I want to filter out certain jobs or I want to see other jobs that aren't in this list. So I can pull down the filter option and I can pull up jobs that are in different statuses. I can pull up jobs for a specific salesperson. I can pull up jobs for a specific company. I can also pull in jobs that are in a specific station, or even maybe I just want to see jobs that are due this week. You can use this option to filter in the list of orders that show up in the list. So once I select a job, that shows me some basic information for the job. I can see the company name, the price of the job. I can see the station. If there was a station, it would show there. The status is in sale currently. I can see that it's not assigned to anybody. And I can see the due date for the item. So I can just click through the different items to see the different information about them. I have a certain number of pages here. So right now I've currently got 20 pages worth of items. So I can cycle through all the items, or again I can use the filter to shorten the list of items that show up on here. I can change some of the columns that show. So maybe I'm not interested in the line item station, but I'm interested in the order station. I can pull the drop down next to here and I can change the item that shows. I can change the column to be something that's a little bit more tailored to what you want to use. So maybe you use the order station. So I can click on the top station here to show the station that the order is in. Lastly, I can also go to the job monitoring. And what this does is this shows me all the items that are specifically assigned to me. So if I don't want to have to search through that entire list looking for specific items that only I care about, I can click on the job monitoring to pull up items that are already assigned to me. So then I can click on the item and then I can clock on. So what the system allows you to do is you can clock on to specific items to track the time that you've worked on a job. I can also, using this screen, maybe I want to batch change these items. So I maybe worked on these 3 items and I'm ready to move them on. I can select the checkbox next to them, and using the option down here, I can change the station for the item, or I can change the assigned to that the item goes to. So I can select that and update those 3 items to be assigned to somebody else. And then it will move it out of the list because they're no longer assigned to me. So let's go to the last page and look at some of the newer items on here. And I'm going to go ahead and select the rigid sign print here. Within this screen, you can also update the item from here as well. So I can update the item station, I can update the order station, I can update the assigned to, and I can update the status of the order. I can also clock onto the item from here in addition to the job monitoring screen. Also, if I'm curious as to what the work order for this particular order looks like, I can click on the clipboard button here, and what that will do is that will open up the work order for this particular job to be able to be printed out. So invoice 1148, it prints out the work order for that job that I can then use. So now that we've looked at the items on how to look through the different items, how to clock through the items, and how to kind of filter out the items, we want to pick a specific item and see what the different options I have with the item itself is. So on the right side, I have a section that shows the layout detail and a couple other options. The first thing to note is the items that show up here are dependent upon the detail filters. So I can show different details for each individual line item. If there's artwork, I can show the artwork information. I can show the company information for that particular job. I can show the layout information, whether it be the detail layout, which is the work order information, or the layout summary, which is just the estimate invoice information. I can also show the line item information, the parts for the item, production notes, and shipping information. So I'm going to add the production notes, and we'll look at that. So just going down the list, I have first the layout detail. Basically, the layout detail is the information that prints out on the work order. So I'd have that information from this screen right here. I can click on the layout detail to get a bigger screen just to better read the notes that have been entered in for this particular item. Line item notes are exactly that. These are the line item production notes. And what I can do is I can actually update the item's production notes from this screen. So if I click on the line item notes, I can add in my new notes here. And I'll just click on Add, and that will add my production notes to the already existing notes. And then I also have the production notes on the order level and the company information. Now, the biggest thing that most people like to use Production Terminal for is being able to say how much material did they use, how much hours did it take to do this particular job. Being able to go through and tell the job, okay, well, we thought we were going to use this much. I want to update the job and tell it how much we actually used. What I can do from that then is if I click on the Parts tab, that will show me all the parts that are on this job, the estimated usage for the part, and then my actual usage. So using this screen, I can update the order to say, okay, we thought we were going to use 2 sheets of material. Maybe we actually used 3 sheets on this job, and we had to burn through an extra sheet. So I'm going to click on the part, type in my usage, and then add in the usage. And what that will do then is that's going to update the part in the system to say that we used 3 sheets. It's going to attribute the cost of that particular material to the job. So then after the job's done, I can go through and run reports to view what my difference is between my estimated usage and my actual usage is. So using this, I can now update the job and tell it, okay, we used this much material. How much did I think I was going to make? How much did I actually make in the end? And that is one of the #1 features for being able to use Production Terminal, is to be able to go through those jobs and update that usage so you have a better idea of just what it took you to do that particular job. Now, we covered all the features that the system uses. You can pick and choose the features that you use. If you don't use the time clock within the system, you don't have to use the time clock options. So the options that you have access to is just everything that you can do within Production Terminal. But if you don't utilize that feature, then that feature does not need to be used. So you can tailor and use Production Terminal as your business best sees fit. So now that we've covered that, we went through the time clock, so you know how to clock into the system. You know how to clock on to specific jobs to track your time that you've actually spent working on a single job. We looked at the job monitoring, so that way you could view all the items that kind of are assigned to you. So it's all the items that you see here, but being able to update ones specifically assigned to you easier. And then we looked at all the detail options for being able to update the parts, update the production notes, and basically just view the information for each individual item. And that is all there is to Production Terminal.